Let's recap issues 1 to 5 of the Venom War event. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't realize it was going to be as chaotic and as crazy as it actually was. By the end of this, we're about to see Venom do something I've never thought he would ever do. Actually, this happens quite a few times. You'll find out what I mean. Let's just jump straight into it. Let's go. We begin in the bustling Grand Garden Arena, where a wrestling event is underway. The headliner, Symbiote Smith, has thrown down the gauntlet, challenging anyone from the crowd to face him. Gavin Gator Grant accepts and steps forward. The two quickly whisper the script for their staged brawl, while commentators Doc Sawbone and Crusher fuel the crowd's excitement. Suddenly, a blinding light pierces the arena, and out of the time stream steps Eddie Brock, accompanied by a group of symbiotes, Wild, Tyro, and Bedlam. Eddie zeroes in on Symbiote Smith, a wrestler clearly modeled after Eddie and Venom. Without hesitation, Eddie slams Smith to the ground, breaking his arm in the process. Chaos erupts as the audience is evacuated, and Eddie's symbiote team wastes no time beating up the wrestlers on stage. Eddie grabs a microphone, declaring his search for his son, Dylan Brock, and his other, the Venom symbiote. Meanwhile, we cut to Venom, who is currently without a host, reflecting on his past and those he's bonded with. He recalls Peter Parker as his perfect match, a host who was inherently good. Venom did everything he could for Peter, even taking up his mission to protect the city while Peter slept. But Peter ultimately rejected the symbiote, declaring he'd rather die than continue to bond with him. Venom bitterly remembers this. He said he would rather die than bond with me? I still wore his symbol, still fought his mission. From Peter, Venom found Eddie, who shared a similar resentment towards Spider-Man. Venom has bonded with many hosts since, and he now faces the painful realization that he has ruined every life he touched, including that of his most recent host, Eddie's son, Dylan. Venom is filled with self-loathing. I am not a symbiote, I am a parasite. I destroy lives. Currently, Venom hides in Peter Parker's closet, clinging to that one person he knows will never willingly bond with him. Venom believes he may die there, unless fate intervenes. In a twist, Peter unknowingly dons the black suit, unaware that Venom has disguised himself as his old costume. Suddenly, Venom's voice whispers, "Peter, don't freak out." We then see Dylan Brock, alone and struggling beneath the city. He is homeless and with no money. Recently, Carnage exposed the truth about Eddie and Venom's violent past, revealing the devastation that they brought. This shocking revelation left Dylan in emotional turmoil, and in a moment of vulnerability, Carnage struck, killing him. But death brought Dylan to a strange place, where he encountered the eventuality, a giant blackened version of Eddie in the form of a massive hand. The eventuality allowed Dylan 5 questions. Dylan asked what would happen if Venom rejoined Eddie, and he got a glimpse of a dark future in which Eddie is a villain, resembling Null. Dylan's next question, how do I stop him? The eventuality cryptically responded, you'll know when you're older. The story jumps forward, revealing that Dylan is currently in conversation with an older version of himself who has traveled back from the future. This future Dylan explains that they have a narrow chance to change their destiny, but it will require young Dylan's help. There are 3 points in the past I need to push on. At the end of this, we'll get one golden opportunity to kill the future. Dylan has already assembled a team of symbiotes he can trust. Toxin, Sleeper, Red Goblin, and Flexo, all to help bring his father back. However, as news breaks of Eddie's arrival in modern day, the older Dylan disappears, and Bren, also known as Toxin, arrives to inform young Dylan that Eddie and his symbiote team are making a major scene on TV at the wrestling arena. Dylan and his team discuss their options, and they conclude that all the symbiotes on TV are just duplicate versions of Eddie himself. But even if Dylan confronts his father, is he truly prepared to do what it takes to stop him? Meanwhile, at the Alchemax building, we see a meeting between Liz Allen, Alchemax's CEO, and Carlton Drake, the CEO of the Life Foundation. They are joined by Mr. Meridius, a mysterious consultant with a supposed solution to the Brock problem. Meridius unveils a formula known as K44, which is lethal to both humans and symbiotes. Elsewhere, Peter Parker and Venom share a conversation. Venom is deeply troubled, feeling that both Eddie and Dylan are better off without him. He is haunted by the lives he's destroyed, especially theirs, and the guilt has driven him into a deep depression. Peter, however, encourages him, reminding Venom that even with his dark past, there have been moments where he showed his potential to be a hero. It's never too late to start doing good. Back at the wrestling arena, Dylan and his team, aided by the sleeper symbiote, slip past security and confront Eddie and his symbiotes in the now empty venue. Almost immediately, Eddie demands, "I need my symbiote back. I need my other. I need Venom." Eddie has also seen a glimpse of the future, one in which the Venom symbiote stays with Dylan, ultimately covering the entire planet in a symbiotic biomass, a nightmarish Venom world. Dylan reveals that he doesn't know where Venom is anymore. An argument erupts as Dylan confronts Eddie, accusing him of abandoning him and of the atrocities he's committed in the past. Dylan is furious, especially after their last encounter where Eddie, as Bedlam, tried to kill him. In a climactic moment, Spider-Man enters the scene, suited up in black, smashing that like button on his way in. Venom's in good hands. We pick up inside Alchemax HQ, where tensions are high around a massive conference table. Liz Allen, the CEO of Alchemax, is joined by Carlton Drake, CEO of the Life Foundation, and Meridius, an evil future version of Eddie Brock. They are deep in discussion about K-44, a deadly new chemical weapon designed by Meridius based on the Alchemax weapon K-43. The formula is a closely guarded secret, but we know one thing: K-44 is an upgraded version of K-43, with the added power that can control symbiotes, or as Meridius will call these controlled symbiotes, zombiotes. Liz, skeptical and sharp, questions Meridius' sanity. She brings up Flash Thompson, aka Anti-Venom, as the gold standard in symbiote control, while Meridius is simply pitching a weapon made of reanimated symbiote goo mixed with toxic waste. Meridius' plan sounds more like madness than genius. Just then, the door bursts open. A panicked security guard shouts, "The Zombiotes! They've escaped the lab!" Meridius is almost eager for this moment. He opens a vial of K-44 and forces it down Carlton Drake's throat. Drake begins to violently transform into a zombiote, attacking a staff member as the zombiote contagion begins to spread throughout the room. In the chaos, Liz Allen reveals her own dark secret. She's the host of Misery, a symbiote made from the combination of Anti-Venom and Carnage. But Meridius is ready. He sprays her with K-43, the original formula that's lethal to symbiotes, before transforming his arm into a massive symbiote fist and smashing Misery through the window. She crashes into a car below, barely surviving the fall. From behind Meridius, the arrogant voice of Cletus Cassidy emerges, offering his alliance. Meanwhile, at the wrestling arena, Spider-Man, now the host of Venom, is caught in a confrontation between Eddie Brock and his team of symbiotes, Bedlam, Tyro, and Wild, after interrupting an intense argument between Eddie and his son, Dylan Brock. Venom wants to speak to Eddie directly, but Spider-Man insists that he's too close to both Eddie and Dylan. Venom agrees to let him take the lead. Spider-Man reveals that after Venom nearly died without a host, he bonded with the symbiote himself, thinking he could help, but now he believes Venom isn't safe with either Eddie or Dylan, at least not until they sort things out. In response, Eddie bonds with Bedlam, the most aggressive and rage-fueled symbiote, transforming into a new, terrifying form. As Spider-Man and Eddie clash, Venom senses something strange. Together, they make an incredible team. Venom enhances Spider-Man's reflexes, giving him a kind of symbiote sense, and he starts to wonder if he's actually enjoying the fight, enjoying it a little too much. On the sidelines, Dylan Brock and his symbiote allies, Sleeper, Flexo, Toxin, and Red Goblin, watch the battle unfold. They discuss which side they should take, though they agree that Spider-Man holding onto the Venom symbiote is probably the best outcome. But Sleeper asks Dylan the crucial question, unless you want Venom back? The fight rages on. Spider-Man is thrown across the arena as Wild and Tyro try to calm the situation down, but Bedlam has a different idea. He forms a massive mouth on his back and begins devouring his own teammates to grow larger and more powerful. Spider-Man's rage is building, and Venom starts to question, is this rage coming from Peter or from himself? He's never fought against a previous host like this before and wonders if he's starting to lose control. Then, with a quiet resolve, Dylan steps forward. He commands Sleeper and Flexo to bond with him. With the full weight of his authority, he demands that both Spider-Man and Eddie stop fighting, or else take it up with the Prince in Black, signaling that he's more than ready to take control of the situation. Back at Alchemax, Meridius watches the chaos as the zombie outbreak spreads across the city. Turning to Cletus Cassidy, he asks what exactly Cassidy wants from this madness. With a sinister grin, Cassidy reveals his carnage form and answers coldly, the soul of Eddie Brock. The issue opens at Alchemax HQ, now the base of operations for Meridius and Carnage. As they oversee the devastation caused by the Zombiote plague, Carnage revels in the destruction, complimenting Meridius on his handiwork, even addressing him as Eddie Brock. However, Meridius is quick to reject the comparison, asserting that Eddie is a lesser version, a mere bag of flesh, wasting his energy in a futile war. Meridius reveals his plan. When the dust settles, he'll claim the Venom symbiote for himself and take his plans into overdrive. Sitting at his feet like a loyal pet is Carlton Drake, fully infected and now a zombified husk. Across the city, the zombiote infection continues its relentless spread. Dead hosts become shambling, mindless remnants, but living ones retain their strength, speed, and any unique abilities they had, now supercharged by the symbiote. Meridius envisions this chaos as the foundation for rebuilding the destroyed symbiote garden, previously destroyed by Carnage, and transform it into an even more powerful Venom world. Despite Carnage's admiration, he challenges Meridius, asking if his plan is truly foolproof. Meridius, eyeing Carnage's all-blood necro spear, remains confident, boasting that even with Carnage's weapon, his army of zombiotes ensures his dominance. Carnage tells Meridius that he has no intention of stopping him. However, he smirks and then proceeds to warn Meridius of an inevitable wildcard that could disrupt even the best laid plans. As they converse, a zombiote corners a terrified civilian, only to be blasted apart by a powerful energy weapon. The infection recedes, restoring the host to normal. From above, Agent Anti-Venom swings into the fray. He acknowledges that while his cure works, it's akin to fighting a forest fire with a water pistol. Determined to make a real difference, he sets his sights on Eddie Brock, hoping to find him at the Grand Garden Arena and seek his help to end the plague. Meanwhile, at the arena, chaos reigns as Dylan Brock and his team battle Eddie Brock and his allies. Dylan, wielding both the Sleeper and Flexo symbiotes, aims a symbiote-crafted weapon at Eddie, who's bonded to the Bedlam symbiote. Spider-Man, bonded with Venom, watches tensely as Dylan demands for Eddie to stand down. Bedlam, ever aggressive, surges forward, but Eddie wrests control, separating himself from the symbiote to stop its attack. Eddie pleads with Dylan, insisting he'll never harm his son and that they should end the violence. Dylan is relieved, but the Flexo symbiote seizes the moment to act on a hidden directive. In a stunning twist, it's revealed that Dr. Doom, many years ago, programmed Flexo to kill Eddie Brock, using Dylan as his weapon. Against Dylan's protests, Flexo forces him to fire, gravely wounding Eddie. As Eddie collapses, his healing factor begins to fail, a deliberate sabotage by Doom, who taught Flexo how to disrupt it. Sleeper attempts to intervene but is overpowered, thrown aside, and separated from Dylan. Nearby, Red Goblin mutters, "Kang," under his breath, drawing a confused glance from Toxin. Though the comment is quickly dismissed, the truth behind his cryptic remark is soon unveiled. Kang the Conqueror, many years in the future, created Rascal, the Red Goblin symbiote, as part of a long-term plan to counteract Doom's schemes. Rascal's programming activates, compelling Red Goblin to disrupt Doom's plans at all costs. Red Goblin leaps into action, digging his claws into Flexo's back, pulling Dylan away and dragging the rogue symbiote out of the arena. Dylan, unaware of the hidden conflict between Kang and Doom, is left dazed and confused. Meanwhile, Spider-Man squares off against Bedlam, who declares himself to be the real Eddie Brock, the version of Eddie Brock that never became soft and never forgot about his hatred for Spider-Man. Exploiting the symbiote's weakness to sound, Spider-Man instructs the nearby host to play loud music, which debilitates Bedlam. Though Venom is also affected, his years of experience allow him to endure it, unlike the more primitive Bedlam symbiote. As the dust settles, Dylan rushes to Eddie's side. Eddie, bleeding heavily, begins to apologize to his son, realizing his time is short. Dylan begs for him to hold on, but Eddie prepares to say his final words. Watching this heart-wrenching moment, Venom reflects on his past choices, finally understanding the harm his distance caused. Venom, aware of the potential dangerous futures that bonding with Eddie and Dylan may cause, begins to realize that the path forward isn't to choose between either of them, but to join them both. In a bold and emotional decision, Venom separates from Spider-Man, knowing the dangers his choice might bring. But for the first time, Venom chooses to stand with them, together. In the heart of the Grand Garden Arena, the battle rages on as Bedlam clashes with Spider-Man, who now fights in his classic suit, having parted ways with the Venom symbiote. Mid-fight, Spider-Man attempts to explain his pressing need to be elsewhere, but Bedlam remains relentless. In a strategic move, he calls upon Eddie and Dylan Brock. Together, they launch a devastating combined attack, brutally smashing Bedlam to the ground. The Venom symbiote, now bonded to both Eddie and Dylan, observes their seamless teamwork, remarking on how in sync they are, even describing them as the perfect family. The father-son duo continues their assault until Dylan delivers a decisive blow, slicing Bedlam's neck and decapitating him. Throughout the confrontation, Venom expresses pride in Dylan's actions. As Bedlam collapses into a pile of red goo, it's evident that Dylan's unique ability to sever symbiotes from the King in Black's hive mind has taken effect. However, Bedlam's rage persists, and he begins to morph into a more monstrous form. Eddie hesitates, recalling that Bedlam is an alternate version of himself, a path he could have taken. Flash Thompson, also known as Agent Anti-Venom, intervenes, striking Bedlam. Venom recognizes Flash as a former host and acknowledges him as the one who taught him how to be a hero, noting his resurrection through the Anti-Venom symbiote. Against Bedlam, Anti-Venom proves ruthlessly effective. With Bedlam subdued, Spider-Man makes a swift exit, leaving before Flash can inform him about the zombiote outbreak spreading across the city. Eddie is taken aback, having been completely unaware of the zombiotes. Suddenly, the arena is overrun by these creatures, all disconnected from Eddie's hive mind due to the Alchemax K formula. Venom shares insights about Meridius and the Absent Throne, the organization hunting Dylan, revealing that Meridius is again another version of Eddie Brock. At the Alchemax building, Meridius and Carnage observe the unfolding events. It's revealed that Venom splitting into two was part of Meridius's plan, and now seems the opportune moment to reclaim the Venom symbiote. However, the emergence of Anti-Venom is an unpredictable element that Carnage had previously anticipated. Carnage offers Meridius the all-blood Necrospear, but Meridius declines, stating he isn't that desperate. Meanwhile, Dylan battles the invading zombiotes in the arena. Flash warns him that many of the zombiotes are innocent people who are still alive. Through his anti-venom powers, Flash can restore them, but it's challenging due to their enhanced speed and strength. Dylan devises a plan. If Meridius is another version of Eddie Brock, then surely Eddie must have some control over the hive mind linking the zombiotes. Eddie begins to combine the Venom and anti-venom symbiotes. This fusion allows him to channel anti-venom into the zombiote hive mind, neutralizing them whilst protecting select symbiotes like Toxin and Sleeper. Venom begins to wonder if this scenario was also part of Meridius's intricate plans. Realizing that Eddie is unraveling his schemes, Meridius swiftly changes tactics. He seizes the all-blood Necrospear from Carnage so abruptly that Carnage laments missing his planned speech for the occasion. Instantly, the healing wave Eddie was sending through the hive mind becomes tainted with the red Carnage symbiote. This corruption not only overtakes the zombiotes, but also infiltrates Eddie's mind, making him aggressive under Meridius's control. Acting quickly, Dylan apologizes before stabbing Eddie through the chest. Eddie Brock kneels in silence, his body trembling as blood pours from the deep wound in his chest. His son, Dylan Brock, was the one who struck the blow. Though Eddie may survive, he has now been separated from the symbiote hive mind, currently corrupted by Meridius and Carnage. Eddie was considered to be a human symbiote hybrid, but now he returns to being just a man. Then the air shifts. Meridius strides into the arena, his presence commanding, the all-blood Necrospear in hand. With a chilling certainty, he declares his intent to reclaim the Venom symbiote, the key to reshaping the planet in his own image. Time seems to warp as he makes his move, hurling the Necrospear towards Dylan with lethal precision. Venom watches in horror. There is no one left to protect Dylan Brock. But then, gunfire shatters the silence. A figure steps forward. It's Old Man Dylan, a battle-worn version of Dylan from a bleak future, fulfilling his promise to deliver a weapon capable of stopping Meridius. One of the two golden bullets, forged from both science and magic, pierces Dylan's body, He gasps. His mind is flooded with flashes of his future self's memories, a vision of a nightmare world that must be avoided at all costs. But then, something changes. The Venom symbiote reacts to the bullet's energy, transforming Dylan into a radiant golden form. The all-blood necrospear, once an unstoppable weapon, now bounces off him harmlessly. Dylan grins. He launches forward, seizing Meridius by the throat. This new form, Iganrak, better known as the Anti-Carnage, has turned the tide of battle. Pinned beneath Dylan's overwhelming power, Meridius pleads, his voice taking on an eerie familiarity. As his mask peels away, he reveals his true face. He is Eddie Brock. Dylan and Venom hesitate for just a moment, but it's a moment too long. With a vicious snarl, Meridius retaliates, throwing Dylan across the battlefield. Meridius speaks of a grim possibility, a future where Dylan keeps the Venom symbiote and reshapes the world into Venom World. But Meridius plans to aim even higher. He will craft the Venom Verse, a cosmos where every world is a symbiote-infested paradise under his control. Eddie, despite his wounds, forces himself to his feet. He lunges at Meridius, trying to buy Dylan enough time for another strike. But Meridius scoffs at his weakness. "You're only human now," he sneers, effortlessly escaping Eddie's grasp. Then, with merciless precision, he drives his weapon into Eddie once more before commanding his zombiote horde to drag him away outside and show him the destruction caused. Dylan watches in horror as his father is taken, but the fire within him burns hotter than ever. Wielding the all-blood necrospear, now purged of Carnage's corruption and infused with his own power, Dylan makes his move. He plunges the spear into Meridius' back. Meridius lets out a final, anguished cry as his symbiote form begins to unravel. Across the city, the zombiotes collapse into nothingness. The war is over. With victory in hand, Dylan turns to Flash Thompson, now rebonded with the anti-Venom symbiote, and asks for his help in tracking down Eddie. Before he can leave, he faces Old Man Dylan, who grimly reveals a devastating truth. Dylan had believed that Eddie Brock was responsible for the dark future he foresaw. But the true catalyst was this very moment, his own victory. By keeping the Venom symbiote after the fight with Meridius, he set in motion a catastrophic chain of events. However, his new golden form given to him by Old Man Dylan was a trap set to destroy the Venom symbiote, removing the possibility of a bleak future. As Old Man Dylan fades from existence, his future erased, the Venom symbiote reacts violently. Dylan is flung away, their bond forcibly severed. Venom writhes in agony as his golden form melts away, leaving behind only raw, shifting darkness. Then, chaos erupts. Alchemax's guards storm the arena, wielding the deadly K formula designed to neutralize symbiotes. Dylan reaches for Venom, but there's no time. Venom, his voice strained but full of love, tells Dylan, "I love you, son." Then he flees, his body disintegrating with each step. A hail of bullets cuts through the air as Venom is struck, his form barely holding together as he tumbles from a shattered window. Dylan's anguished screams echo as he's pulled away from the battlefield. Meanwhile, in the Our Lady of Saints Church, the very place where Eddie first bonded with Venom, Eddie lies bleeding, his strength fading. But he is not alone. Carnage is there, barely clinging to life himself. With a sickly grin, he offers Eddie a deal. "We both die, or we live together. Your terms." Eddie hesitates. He swore he'd never let Carnage in, but as his vision darkens and death looms ever closer, perhaps, just this once, desperate times call for desperate measures. And if you like this kind of content, smash the like button, leave a comment down below, and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. But for the meantime, peace, peace, peace.